was 2043, and at the height of government collapse and social chaos, a team of 20 metahumans turned vigilante took it upon themselves to protect planet Earth while maintaining balance and order. They were known as the starseeds. For decades, they were considered protectors of humanity and remained extremely successful with their mission. That is, until the Draconian invasion, a race of evil reptilian humanoids from the Draco star constellation took it upon themselves to disobey the intergalactic constitution and invade planet Earth, killing off 65% of the population by using an airborne virus that transforms a person into a flesh-eating zombie almost instantly. The starseeds used everything in their power to stop the Draconians, but simply did not have the resources to survive. All of them were killed off instead of two: Windstorm and Ares. They understood that they too would soon be defeated by the Draconians, so in an act of desperation, they decided to use an untested time machine with hopes of sending Windstorm back into the past so that he could warn the starseeds about the Draconian invasion and they could properly prepare themselves. But things didn't go as planned. Unbeknown to Windstorm and Ares, the Draconians were aware of their plan to travel back in time, and were able to intercept their time machine out of the temporal zone, and instantly transmit it to the inside of the Draconian mothership. Windstorm never had the chance to travel through time. Instead, he was teleported directly to the custody of the Draconians. While there, he was tortured. The Draconians devised a plan to send Windstorm back in time like he and Ares originally intended. But this time he would be sent back under complete mind control of the Draconians. And instead of going back to the age of the starseeds, he would go back further to the time before the starseeds came to be. The time before he became Windstorm, and was simply known as Anthony, from Detroit. The Draconians used a temporary mind-controlling serum that they injected inside of Windstorm, allowing them to have complete control and influence over him. Their plan was simple: use Windstorm of the future to secretly manipulate his past self into developing his metahuman abilities. But instead of joining the starseeds, convince him to use his powers to serve the Draconian agenda. Upon the Draconians' successful recruitment of Anthony, their plan was to eliminate the future version of Windstorm that they had in custody. This was the Draconians' grand scheme to initiate one of the most powerful starseeds known throughout history. The Draconians are controlling Windstorm, and Windstorm is controlling Anthony, his past self. While under the temporary influence of the Draconians, Windstorm was shown how to use the Draconian satellites to hack into a person's subconscious mind and influence the nature of their dreams. He used this method to control certain visions that Anthony would have while asleep. These visions would make Anthony feel as if he had a special calling over his life, and that it was up to him to follow the signs in order to accept his mission. Windstorm even hijacked the subconscious of people who were close to Anthony, so that certain words and phrases that were said to him in his dreams would also be said to him while he was awake, and he would believe that it was all a sign from a higher source, but really it was manipulation. Windstorm also orchestrated events that caused for Anthony to experiment with a street drug used as a powerful hallucinogen, known as ultraviolet, which would make Anthony's mind even more susceptible to the influence of the Draconian satellites. A massive turning point in this process of manipulation was when Windstorm used the satellites to send a vagrant to cause problems towards Anthony while he was at work as a security guard. The vagrant was given specific instruction to start a fight with Anthony, and once the fight was over, leave Anthony with a note that read, "Learn to fight." A few days had passed and Anthony had completely forgot about the note, until one day. While walking home, he saw a flyer with the same message. Seeing the phrase "learn to fight" reminded him of the letter that was left with him after the altercation at work, and he felt as if it was some sort of divine synchronicity. So he decided to take the flyer and call the number. But what Anthony didn't know is that all of this was happening because of Windstorm, who was secretly orchestrating these events from the shadows. He wanted Anthony to see the flyer and call the number so that Anthony could finally start the training process needed to serve the draconian agenda. After Anthony called the number, he was given directions to one of the draconian safe houses where he would begin his training. But the crazy part is, when he came to the safe house, he was met by Windstorm, his future self. But because Windstorm augmented his voice and was wearing a mask, Anthony didn't realize who he was talking to. Although Anthony was skeptical about everything, he genuinely believed he was signing up for some type of special martial arts training. So he decided to stick with it and see it through. Windstorm began to explain to Anthony exactly how the training process would take place. He started off by giving Anthony a book that explained everything he needed to know about the draconian fighting style. He also showed Anthony the basement where he would expect him to show up whenever he wanted to, and follow the instructions from the book and train himself. There was only one rule. Upstairs was strictly forbidden. A few weeks later, Anthony was due for his first evaluation, where he would be tested to see if he was taking his training seriously. Towards the end of the evaluation, Windstorm began to explain to Anthony who the Draconians were and why they are here. He told him the Draconians were from a galaxy far, far away, and that they came to Earth to help rebuild it and save humanity from self-destruction. But of course, this was not the truth. Windstorm continued the lie by telling Anthony he was needed to help the Draconians fight against the people who were against them. All of this sounded crazy to Anthony, and he really didn't know how to respond. All he wanted was to learn martial arts. He would have never have thought that he would be given the offer to join a group of extraterrestrials and essentially fight for them and serve their agenda. And to further convince him, Windstorm began to explain how he could teach Anthony how to ignite his metahuman DNA and develop his own superpowers. He even gave Anthony a demonstration of what these powers look like. After witnessing wind powers for the first time, Anthony was impressed and began to think long and hard about joining the Draconians. And for a minute, the Draconians almost had him. There was just one variable that Windstorm and the Draconians didn't consider: the ultraviolet. As previously mentioned, the ultraviolet was a drug, often used as a hallucinogen. Windstorm wanted Anthony to experiment with the ultraviolet because he believed it would make him more susceptible to the Draconian satellites. But what Windstorm didn't realize is how the ultraviolet was a herb that affected everybody differently. And for Anthony, it wasn't just some random hallucinogen. It was something greater. Something that allowed him to leave his physical body and astral travel to a higher realm of existence, a safe haven known as the Island. Here, Anthony met his spirit guide, and for each trip he took while under the influence of the ultraviolet, he was allowed about 10 minutes to speak with his spirit guide and receive answers to the problems he was faced with during day-to-day life. Needless to say, Anthony spoke to his spirit guide about the Draconians. He wanted to know if they could be trusted. The island's spirit guide revealed to Anthony how the Draconians were malevolent beings and should not be trusted, since their true mission was to colonize planet Earth and use it as a farm in order to harvest human beings as a food source. Upon hearing this, Anthony made a decision to reject the offer that was given to him, and from there, things became more complicated. About 2 weeks had passed, and Windstorm couldn't get in touch with Anthony. Anthony knew he wanted to reject Windstorm's offer, but he didn't know exactly how to tell him face to face, so he just avoided him. Things began to take another turn when Anthony met a strange man downtown passing out flyers. In bold letters, these flyers read out, "Draconians are real." Anthony couldn't help but to stop and speak to him, as it turns out. This strange man also had a personal encounter with the Draconians when they tried to abduct him during a camping trip in the Upper Peninsula. And ever since that day, he has made it his personal mission to investigate the Draconians while exposing their existence to the public. He was very excited to meet Anthony. He finally had someone to talk to about the Draconians. Turns out this strange man's name was Matthew, and he also had the meta-humans' DNA, just like Anthony. Matthew wanted to speak to Windstorm more personally, so he invited him into his loft upstairs. While up there, Windstorm told Matthew everything, starting with the flyer, the secret training, and the offer to join the Draconians. The only thing Anthony left out was the experience he had with the Ultraviolet. Upon hearing all of this, Matthew couldn't help but to focus on how the upstairs of the training dojo was strictly forbidden. He profusely expressed to Anthony how he should go against the rules and go up there anyway. But Anthony disagreed. Staying away from upstairs was the only rule, and Anthony felt that if he didn't follow it, then there would be dire consequences. But Matthew slowly but surely convinced Anthony to do it. You see, Matthew had a special talent for coding. He was able to hack into specific satellites within the exosphere and pinpoint a specific address and run surveillance based off heat signatures. This would allow Matthew to know when the house was empty and the coast was clear for Anthony to thoroughly investigate upstairs. Anthony was intrigued by these resources. This was a whole new world for him. He couldn't resist the temptation. He decided to trust Matthew, even though he knew Matthew had his own agenda. Anthony and Matthew devised the perfect plan. Matthew would sit outside 3 blocks away and monitor the vicinity, while Anthony investigated the upstairs of the Draconian hideout. But when Anthony went up there, he wasn't prepared for what he would see.
What the? No! 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 Ah!